You don't want your employees to be idle, so why would you want your robots to be idle? Zebra Technologies is addressing idle robots by bringing their latest solution to the market, which requires 30% fewer robots, resulting in increased asset utilization and a cost-effective entry to automation for your fulfillment operations. The Zebra Symmetry fulfillment ecosystem is bringing you balanced utilization, more cubic capacity, and optimized pick paths so you can operate at peak performance. Want to take your fulfillment operation to the next level? Learn more at zebra.com or click the link in the show notes.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey guys, it's Kevin and I'm here at the MHI headquarters where I'm talking to some MHI industry group representatives, and we're going to have two industry groups represented in this conversation here today. We're going to have Allison Meyers, who's Director of Marketing and Communication at Fives Intralogistics, and she's representing the Conveyor Sortation Solutions Group. And then we have Brian Keiger, who is the Chief Commercial Officer at ConveyCo Technologies, who's representing the Mobile Automation Group today. And our topic is going to be focused on sustainability. We're going to talk a little bit about what they're seeing at their individual companies, other companies, and how they're approaching sustainability. We're going to talk a little bit about how CSS and the MAG Group are intersecting on sustainability and how they're focusing on it. And we're just going to talk things all sustainability today. So pleasure to have you both here. It's great to see you in person.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks for having us, Kevin. This is exciting.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Happy to do this. Absolutely. So sustainability obviously is a huge topic, not just in our industry, right, but every industry. It's on consumers' minds. It's something that certainly become a hot topic and something that even we see as being pushed from regulations as well. Lots of different aspects to sustainability. But when we talked about sustainability, I guess in our industry specifically, I guess, Brian, why don't you kind of start here? But, you know, what sustainability challenges are we seeing organizations and companies kind of facing today?
Yeah, so first of all, any solid plan should focus first on what are the challenges out there, what are the obstacles that we have to overcome, right? And then, of course, you want to put into put together some type of plan or roadmap of how do we address these issues once we've defined what they are, what the challenges are. I think the one biggest challenge, though, is actually a strategic one, and that's how do we look at sustainability? Yeah. You know, a lot of people think sustainability, they think we're out there hugging trees, you know, or, you know, we're not doing that. We're not hugging trees. We're not trying to do anything that's going to, you know, put our business or our customers in a bad light, but rather sustainability should enable or empower all these strategic initiatives, whether it be through operations, whether it be in the business operations, or even in a competitive or financial as well. So I think that's a big one. And I think the more we're doing internally to educate our people, that's another big challenge. How do we educate our people? And I know Fives has done a great job of implementing programs to help not only educate, but to get them more actively involved. I think if you can talk to that, Allison.
I would love to.
Sure.
You know, it's where to start. And I think that's a challenge for people. And I am thankful for a company like Fives that's very passionate about it. You can go read on our website all that we're doing in that space. Okay. But outside of that, we just have an initiative for our whole company. So globally, we have a contest that's open. So all the employees can
everybody
submit.
Loves a contest.
Everybody loves a good contest. Can
exciting,
submit their ideas on how we can help the climate, how we can be better global citizens. And it can be anything from internal to the building to external to what we're doing in our processes, across the board to how we innovate. And that was open up to our entire portfolio of companies and associates, and we're doing that right now. And what happens is they vote, so there's a committee that votes on it, and then from there, they're going to implement these. So they're going to put money and resources behind that so that some of these ideas actually get implemented. So talk about a way to take sustainability, a word, the green, what is green, and taking it and have it living, breathing inside of a company. So there are fun ways to do it.
Do they get any green for winning?
There is green for winning, but it is used to help implement the idea that they have set forth. So there's some fun things, and I think when we look at it as companies, for example, I'm representing CSS today, and we have 58 member companies. There are a lot of things that we're doing, not only at our company level inside of our buildings, that we're helping the environment, from using less wattage and energy to creating a space where the things that we're implementing and the automation that we're implementing inside of our customer spaces really are helping them meet their initiatives as well. So there's really kind of that intersection of what we're doing and the innovations that we're creating. They're allowing others to help hit their sustainability goals and efforts.
Yeah, there's a true intersection there, Kevin, between what we're trying to do in our companies, what we deploy, how we put ourselves out there, how we present ourselves, just to align with what other companies, our end users, our customers, are doing for sustainability. And some of the other challenges are getting them to understand, yes, there's risk, but there's also reward in doing this, because the transition does not come without a cost, right? So it's adapting new technologies. It's trying to get your mindset around how do we do that. So, we have to also understand what it means for change management. If we're going to get these people adapting new technologies, we have to get them to understand why and make sure they understand this is enablement. And in doing so, we can then fit right into that small piece that people forget about all the time, and that's labor sustainability, right? The sustainability of labor, because people are still our greatest asset. Never, regardless of the fact that there's a shortage in the workforce, they're still our greatest asset. So part of our sustainability initiative has to be creating programs that allow our customers, and internally to our employees, to find a way to feel enabled, empowered by these programs, so that they want to stay. They want to keep doing the work. So I think that's another big challenge, is not only doing it internally, but getting those initiatives mirrored into our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's great. And I love the idea of the contest there. I mean, I think that, like you said, everybody loves contests. I mean, that makes it
I wish
exciting.
they would have asked me to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You can take that back to your place and implement that. So there's an action item that you can take home with you, Brian.
And improve it.
And improve it. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great way to look at it, is, how do you, as a solution provider, in a sense, right, be able to set the example, and then, go to these customers, these end users, and tell them, oh, well, this is what we're doing, or we've implemented this into our processes that we involve you in already, and now we're helping you to maintain and progress that. So I'm curious, I mean, from that side as well, as you talk to some of the end users and the customers that you deal with, or whether it's your own companies or with the member companies and the industry groups, how, I guess, important is this right now for these customers that are implementing solutions and looking at different ways of sustainability? I mean, how important is that?
I think it's more important now than it ever has been before. Before, it was just the word green, right? We're going green, we're going to be green. And then we switched over and said, no, we're going to be sustainable. We're going to put together some climate strategy. We're going to be sustainable. But those were words to that. And I think now more so than ever, there are actions behind it. People are actually doing things to improve, to reduce those CO2 emissions, to use less wattage, to improve energy, to reduce waste, period, wherever that waste may be. And I think that's where we come in. And I think that we're seeing a lot of our customers ask that of us. So yes, while putting together contest internally, and Fives is working very hard because we're very passionate about decarbonization and other things, there are our customers asking that of us. What are you doing? What are you doing as a CSS member group? What are you doing as MAG? What are you doing as your individual companies to help us meet our our goals, because we care about the environment and we want to do the right thing and we want to do this together. We want to be good global citizens. And I think that's the change, is the heart. It's the change in the heart.
Right.
And with that change becomes just some really amazing innovations. We've got some of the smartest people together. When we work with our customers hand in hand, we come up with some great solutions together. And so I see them wanting that out of us and us wanting that out of them. And then it's this collaborative process that it has allowed us to help us reach the goals together.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I think people are starting to realize that it is a culture change. It is a mindset shift.
Absolutely.
Everything about this is a mindset shift, right? And so that collaboration that she talked about, that is so critical, because once you have that collaboration and you have that transparency across the supply chain, and you can really build a great ecosystem internally for your customers to help them be on that sustainability path and to help you improve as well. And then I think it's critical, you're going to have to put some key metrics around it too. So I think we can't just go out there, willy-nilly, as they say here in the South.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so important too. And I love that too, because it's almost like you're feeding off each other, right? You know, kind of that sense of the energy, in a sense, is like contagious, right? It's like, oh, this is what we're doing, and this is what we're doing, and oh, let's push each other together
100%.
to be better. Right?
And at ConveyCo, and I know Fives is this way too, for us it's like a journey partnership, right? So we're on a journey together with what we call our partners. Some people call them customers, that's fine, but you're really in the trenches with them. And you're really helping to understand their business first, so that you can help them understand how they can be more sustainable, how they can improve here and there, and adapt the right technologies and use that technology to enable their processes and their operations. So
To remove waste. We like to talk about that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Well, my wife gets 10 packages a day, and they're always 10 times bigger than they need to be, and you open it up and there's tons of packaging waste in there, and I'm like going,
We could do better.
better.
Let's figure out how we can help them have smaller packages, that we can sort those better. How can we help them move through the warehouse better? What are the supply chain areas that we can reduce some of that waste? Because that and essentially is going to reduce carbon emissions, is going to reduce returns and dunnage and all of those things. So it all plays together.
We'll talk about it at a certain point, but that just fuels the circular economy, which is a big principle, a big part of sustainability. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, even in that sense too, when you start to reduce that waste, not only is it allowing you to be more sustainable, but typically it's allowing you to be more efficient too, more productive, and ultimately at the end of the day, maybe some potential cost savings too as well, which I think is really important. So you mentioned in here too, I think Brian, you said you don't want to be all willy-nilly about sustainability, right? So tell us a little bit about, because we touched on too that there's a lot of different things to, I guess, go out and attack from a sustainability front. A lot of different levers you could pull to make an impact there. But tell us a little bit about, how do you start to measure progress on the sustainability front?
So measuring progress in sustainability it's really critical to demonstrate accountability, to identify areas where you can improve, and to drive that continuous change. You have to have those right key indicators, I think, that are just that's going to drive that process even more. And I think too many people today, to Allison's point, people for a long while, their sustainability blind is wrong. So they thought, well, it has to do with this. So therefore they're focusing on how do we measure emissions. And it goes so much further than measuring emissions. You can look at emission intensity. You can look at your renewable energy usage. I mean, there's so many different things that you can use, but it involves tracking. You have to track both environmental. You have to do the social aspect of it. You have to look at the economic impacts that you're having. But if you don't measure, if you don't put those right key measurements in place, you have no idea where you're going. You have no idea if you're improving. You have no idea if people are responding positively. So it's critical to put those KPIs in place so that you do know where you're going, and you do have a plan. And it doesn't mean that plan is the Bible. It means basically you have a plan so you know when you need to pivot and create a new plan or a divergent from that plan. But if you don't have the KPIs in place, then you're all willy-nilly. So.
To measure is to know.
Absolutely, right. Yeah. So I'm curious, Allison, from your perspective on the measurements. You guys are doing this contest, right? So how are you putting in measurements or understanding when you go to implement one of these ideas from an employee, how do you kind of measure what the impact it's going to have?
A lot of it has to do with kind of what Brian was saying. We put in those key KPIs, and it's the cadence. It's ensuring that when you put importance on something, I mean, we know when we are doing well financially, right? We know if we're hitting our EBITDA. We know what our sales numbers are. We know if our order book looks great. We know if have delays in our supply chain. We know all of those things about our company. So this is just one more measurement. And coming even from the marketing side, I know what my lead conversion is. I know how well my website is performing. You can know those things. Well, you can conversely know how you're doing with your environmental impact, how your sustainability initiatives are going. You just put those KPIs, and just like you track everything else, you put that in and you make it, and you put importance on it. So whatever is important, you will pay attention to.
That's important.
And if you don't get leadership buy-in, and that comes from the top, and I think that's the key, is that it has to come from the top of your company. And so, for example, our company cares greatly about it, and that comes from our leadership, and it comes down to all of us that we know that it's important. And so if you're looking to put any kind of lean initiative in place or sustainability plan that we've been talking about,
right,
that leadership has to have buy-in. It has to have buy-in with the management, and that has to trickle down to buy-in with each individual employee, so everyone knows the importance of measuring. Everyone knows the importance of what we're doing and why we're doing it, so that it becomes important.
That's a good point, Allison. I can totally relate with that. As the chief commercial officer at my company, it's basically our employees are constantly looking to us at leadership and the C-suite as to what's the plan, what are we going to be doing, where are we going to have an impact, what should we be doing right now? And it's a lot of pressure to make sure we have a good roadmap that not only we can put in place, but one that they can follow. And so, to your point, leadership has to lead, though. They have to put the thing in place, and they have to make it so that their employees understand it and they buy into it. It has to be something they're going to buy into, which is great to have a contest, right?
Yeah.
I keep coming back to the contest, but
right.
They participate. It's something fun. They participate, and they can learn while they're doing it. They start to research, well, what are different ways I can be sustainable? What initiatives can we do as a company? They don't know that off the top of their head, I'm guessing. Yeah. So they have to go out there and they have to research. They have to participate, and they get involved. So, things like that, leadership has to think of those type of things, that how am I going to promote sustainability through my company, and what's the roadmap to get us to the right place to have success.
And there are third parties out there that can help with this too, right? There are third party scores that you can get that shows your improvements and your sustainability efforts, and I would say research that and find out if you're serious about improving your sustainability planning and strategies. Maybe get help from someone outside of your organization to help kind of guide you through, or find out what those marks and measurements that you need to hit, so that you can prove that, hey, we are doing what we said we're going to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's such a great thing to be able to measure it, because you want to see that progress, certainly, right? And if you're not seeing progress, then you're kind of a little discouraged, right? And you kind of move away from it. And I think it's a great point too, from the leadership down, kind of just ingraining that in the culture and making that cultural shift. And it's kind of like we have all these initiatives around sustainability, and then you go and you see like the VP of some department, and he just throws like a plastic bottle in the trash, right? And you're like, oh, we're not taking this seriously, right? So it's that leadership thing where you want to drive that through and have that culture go throughout. So we talked a little bit about, and I think you said in the beginning, Brian, it's not all about tree hugging, right? In a sense, with sustainability. So
love trees. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, we love trees, definitely. I mean, we love oxygen for sure. So, tell us a little bit about kind of not only from the environmental impact, right, that we're trying to do with some of these sustainability initiatives, but also the business value that lies in pushing some of these sustainability initiatives through.
So essentially all business translates into dollars. That's how we measure everything, right?
Yeah. How
much money are we saving, or what's the impact cost-wise? So I think a lot of times we see ESG, or sustainability, if you will, as a true competitive advantage for us.
Yes.
It's a way to, it can be short term and long term. You have to build those long term plans, but you have to have that short term. What's going to be the windfall in the immediate? But the supply chain actually is very uniquely positioned already to support a sustainable future and to support that the business growth that we want to see with it and to drive that change, transformational change. So the supply chain is primed and ready for it, especially after everything that we went through with COVID.
Yeah.
Created huge gaps in our supply chain. So it's ready for change. It's ready for something, some type of adaptation improvement. So there's a lot of value there for us in our company to be able to put those plans together and to have those short-term and long-term goals. We also have to build those stories. And again, this is kind of repeating what we've already talked about, but it's worth talking about. We have to build those stories internally to our own employees so that they buy in. They want to get involved. They want to participate. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do there as a company to build the value internally and then measure that value, going back to the metrics again.
Right.
But yeah, I think everything's going to come down to dollars, right? If you have a CFO, that's the first thing he looks.
Yeah.
When you're submitting a proposal for multi-million-dollar systems
There you go.
to a customer, CFO goes straight to the price.
Yeah.
So it is about
in
the
some
dollars.
of those, they're also looking specifically, what is your sustainability?
Well, that comes down to total cost of ownership.
Total cost of ownership. There you go. So, and that's what we're seeing, and I kind of alluded to that earlier too, from the customer side, from the partnership that we have with these customers, is that they want us to participate with them in this journey, and part of that is that's where we've seen business growth is they need that from us, and we're able to provide it back to them, and we can do this together.
Yeah, that's our real value. And I know, Kevin, you've heard me talk about this before, right? It's the whole ripple effect.
Right.
You throw a pebble into a pond, yeah, you make a great splash. But what are those ripples doing? What's the impact of those ripples? Because there's more than just one thing going on in that business. So when we put in an automated storage retrieval system or sortation line or whatever, sure, that's a great thing, but it's impacting all the upstream and downstream processes.
Right.
So if we don't take the time to understand that customer's business and how that impact's going to lay in there with that solution, we're not adding any value at all, really. We're probably pushing problems around. So the true value for us is not only looking at that, but back to the point, the total cost of ownership. What does it mean for this, but what's it going to mean for the rest of your business? And then are we creating unsustainable workplaces elsewhere by putting this in here? So we've got to look at the whole package for sure, not just be focused on the one solution we're putting in there, but how do we make this and create sustainability throughout the rest of the process with it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great point there, because you see, like you said, you look at that price tag, right, and like, oh, this is the price, right? In some cases, but then understanding and being able, I think, to from your perspective as the solution providers, right, being able to help them understand what's that total cost of ownership, and where else are you potentially gaining in the business that's not necessarily visible on a price tag, right? But you see that, and you're able to see it, whether it's upstream or downstream, as you mentioned there, Brian, and see that overall impact, and you can start to understand. And I think that sort of demystifies, in a way, a little bit of that. I think people would say that going green or sustainable is going to cost me more, right? It's going to cost me more money. But I think what we're seeing as a lot of this stuff is happening is there's a lot of savings actually involved there. And I'm curious, do you guys see the same?
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think outside of that too, you're looking at the impact to that workspace or that environment where you put that piece of automated equipment. Does there have noise reduction? Is it making a better working environment for that employee that's there? Are you taking away extra space and work and stuff, and that's tedious and hard to do, just even automating that space or reducing that noise, or there's so many things, using less energy. So we're helping from that standpoint, just providing automation in a space where I think people didn't even think about, well, could that be sustainable? But I think absolutely there are different levels that you're looking at that are outside of just that initial purchase price.
Yeah, the technology, basically it's enabling these workers to work more efficiently, to pick more accurately. And that has a huge impact outside of their environment, because if they're more efficient and they're picking more accurately, that means the orders are getting delivered more accurately. So there's less returns, and there's a huge cost in handling returns.
Oh, yeah.
So the returns business is ridiculous. But then there's also things that we're doing to allow people to utilize the vertical space. So this has always been the case in Europe, because Europe is landlocked everywhere you go. But U.S., it was so easy, just we'll build out. Yeah, we'll just build out. There's a cost to that.
Right.
And particularly now as the cold chain is growing more and more. I think it's like $463 billion in growth over the next 5 years. It's ridiculous.
And also, there's a huge focus on brownfields, not actually building new, but as we're looking forward, it's using the space that we currently have and using it better.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I was working on a project recently where it was a cold chain, and the guy said, hey, we could do this, this, and this. And I said, but it takes up about 10% more square footage than if we stuck with exactly what we're going to do and kind of go up a little bit more. And they go, yeah, but here's the benefit. I said, stop. It's cold chain.
Yeah.
What's the most expensive part of the cold chain? Refrigerating that building, keeping that building cold.
Yep.
So that's not just a cost for them in the initial price. It's a cost for them to 10% every year to chill that, and that's ongoing. I said, so we have to think about this. Again, it's a mind shift. It's a cultural change. We have to think about what it means to that customer's environment and what's going to mean to their bottom line. So we have to get creative when we do our technologies and deploy them. We have to think not like the customer would. Where's that savings? How do I save, and how do I get the most amount happening in the smallest amount of space? And so it's a challenge, but it's one that I think reaps huge benefits when you can find those small nooks and crannies where you can get those cost savings, because they do add up. They do add up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean.
And there are lots of technologies out there that both MAG and CSS have that can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those are great points there and great examples too on how that can benefit and drive overall business value. So we talked a little bit about kind of some of the challenges around sustainability and how to go about it, approach it. Also had the measure in there as well, and what the ultimate business value can be at the end of the day. So, as the organizations are listening, as they're looking to start these sustainability journeys, what are some of the things that an organization can do to get started?
I think first of all, I think we talked about already is research, right? Do the due diligence to look in, because every company is different, right? So what works for me may not work for Allison's company, but you got to do something. So first thing, do something. Start the research, and then figure out how you can be innovative with it as well. There's a lot of technology out there. I tell my customers every day, you're going to a trade show, you see 150,000 technologies, you don't know what to do. You don't know what's best.
Right.
So for us, we have to innovate and help them along the way, create that innovation. What else do you got there?
Well, also, I kind of mentioned this third party, but get involved with nonprofit organizations.
Absolutely.
That can help you figure this out.
Everybody has them in their area,
so
why not get involved? You might as well. So I think that's a great add-in too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think there's a lot going on with that too, to be able to help and assist there. And I think your point to getting a third party to help you, I think it's no different than a company saying, oh, we want to bring in automation, we want to start our automation journey, but we don't know anything about this, so let's bring in a third party to help us, right? It's the same idea, I think, there. And I think the fact that you both and your member companies of industry groups are looking at this too, not only internally but then externally for customers or partners as well, I think is such a great thing to be able to help them and push this forward. And I think the appetite out there for it is certainly there for companies that want to go about this. And I'm curious too. You kind of mentioned this a little bit there, Brian, when you're talking about the total cost of ownership, right? And having some understanding of seeing, is there any sustainable aspect to this? But are any of your member companies or maybe your own companies at this point, are they seeing where customers are coming to the table saying that, like, oh, we need to see that there is some sustainable benefit attached to the solution?
Every day. It's a key driver for them. They want to make sure they're doing their part, right? So they're naturally not going to implement anything that they think is going to be detrimental to their own sustainability plans. But you're seeing that. I think it's pushing really hard now. Sustainability is a big piece of their their makeup right now. So
I think we're all pushing each other, like I said before, to be better, to just be better a little bit every day. And what it's allowing us to do is really look internally as we're developing next year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, as we're looking into the future. And I think all of the people that are in MAG and CSS do this as well, as we look as we're developing and say, okay, these are the asks today, but what are the asks tomorrow? How do we continually get better and use less energy, and what are ways to do that, and how can we automate this and remove waste from the system? And each day it's just, it's each step. And I think a lot of people think you have to go from 0 to 100 overnight. You don't, it's just start.
Right.
And that's just start, right?
Yeah.
Just get started. Start doing something, start measuring it, get a buddy, find a nonprofit. That's going to help you do better each day.
Yeah, and get those KPIs in place.
Yeah, don't get all willy-nilly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I love that. I mean, I think it's definitely a collaborative approach, I think, is the way to go about it. Like you said, get a sustainability buddy, right, or something like that, and be able to approach that, but just get started at the end of the day. So it's been great to talk to you both here and find out how some of the CSS and the MAG groups or membership companies are going about the sustainability and what you're seeing out there in the field too. I think it's important to be able to create that awareness and, like you said, do research and be able to put that out there. So I really appreciate you both joining me here today, and we'll definitely put more information about the CSS and MAG group in the show notes as well, so people can easily find it, as well as links to connect with both Allison and Brian here as well. So thank you both for joining me today.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Enjoyed this episode? Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, and for more content from the New Warehouse, find us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Links to subscribe can be found in the show notes, and for everything The New Warehouse, head to thenewwarehouse.com.